March is like the biggest seed sowing month. At least for me it is. And okay guys, we're deep into the first week of March. We're in like the second week of March. So really quick, and I'm not gonna do a lot of editing to this because I wanna get it out to you guys because we're so far into March already. What we're going to be sowing indoors and outdoors in March. Our last frost date is April 21st. Yours may be different, so you should check that out and then read your seed packets and see what it says for when you should be sowing your seeds or starting them indoors. Oh, and by the way, I'm Nikki with Garden and Grease, if we haven't met yet, and if we already have, well, thank you for coming back. Welcome back. Okay, so I'm gonna start with honestly some seeds that we're going to be sowing outside, and I'm going to be doing some of these, well, not today because I've got a lot on my plate, but probably tomorrow, because we're gonna have a nice day tomorrow and then it's gonna rain. Tomorrow's Friday, it's gonna rain Saturday, so I'd like to really get all of this done tomorrow. But we're getting a bunch of soil, we're going to the compost facility, and for free getting a bunch of compost and mulch. So going to be a full weekend. Here we go. So I'm going to start, even though I have started inside, I'm going to start sowing outside my spinach. Spinach is totally perfect for this time of year. Like, it can handle frost like really, really well. I literally think I still have some spinach growing that the chickens didn't get to because I put some mulch around it. It's still growing, and I'm going to put that in the screen if I can get a good shot of it, but it's still back there growing. It made it through the winter, and we had multiple snows. It gets pretty cold here in Pennsylvania. So I like this spinach, and I have a couple others. Let's see, this one too. I'm going to also put in my Swiss chard. Now, our last frost date is April 21st, but if I need to on some of our stuff, I will do some covers. I'm going to do covers over some of it, just some light frost covering. Now, also outside, we're going to be sowing beets. Now, I have a bunch of beets because I'm going to be testing out beet companies. So I won't tell you all the beets that I'm going to be doing just now. I will leave that for that video so that you can make an educated decision on whether you want to spend more money or less money, and if it's worth it either way. So we have a bunch of different beet varieties. I have a bunch of radish varieties. This one's from the dollar store, the Dollar Tree, actually. The later end of this month, I'm also going to be doing our carrots, which I didn't, oh yes I did. We've got carrots. I got a couple of different varieties of carrots that we're going to be doing. I had actually gotten these ones for free from Baker Creek. I don't know if that was last year or this year that I got these. I think this year. And I want to do these. These ones came from Burpee. And these, we did a lot of these last year. These are really good. They're just these little baby carrots. And I mean, who doesn't love to eat a baby carrot? I mean, and they're pretty quick turnaround on those. So we're definitely going to be doing carrots, the beets. I have turnips somewhere in here. We're going to be doing turnips. Now, something else I'm going to be planting outside this weekend are peas. I have snap peas. And I've got some of these dwarf. These are really great. Wow. These are the Tom Thumb dwarf pea. And I did an experiment for our hay and straw to see if there was any persistent herbicides in it. And the test went great. Check that video out. And I literally have both of these growing in cups in the house. I couldn't bring myself to just throw them in compost after the experiment, and it was still a little too cold, and we still had snow on the ground to bring them outside. And they literally have peas. I'm going to put a picture of those on the screen. They literally have peas growing on them in our house. So I thought that was pretty cool. I've never actually grown peas in the house like that. I thought that was really neat that it did that. So we've got those. I have flowers on this list too here. So we got flowers and vegetables. So, March is like the biggest seed sowing month. At least for me it is. And one of those reasons why it's so big, not just because of all of the seeds that we're actually going to be sowing this month, but it's because it is time to start our tomatoes. You can't even see all these varieties. I can't fan them out. There's a ton of tomato varieties. Now I'm telling myself that I'm not going to sow all of these tomato varieties, that I'm going to pare it down to like 3 or 4. But I don't know that I can bring myself to do that. My excuse is, and I'm already telling you this now, that I'm sowing so many varieties because friends and family are going to want some, and then I can share them. And I will, but they will be growing all over the yard, not just in our vegetable garden. I will probably have them in my flower borders and everywhere else in between, because I mean, who doesn't need 20 different tomato varieties growing in their backyard? Anyway, so tomatoes, and actually I'm at 6 weeks to my last frost date, so I will be doing those this weekend. I think Saturday is actually the day that I will start these in the house. Because they won't be going out the week of our last frost date. They will be going out roughly, I'm just going to call it 2 weeks after. But really it is when our nighttime temperatures are steadily in the 50s. They don't like the cold. Neither do our peppers. So our peppers will not be going outside either until pretty much that same exact time. 50 degrees steadily at nighttime, which I'm going to call it 2 weeks after our last frost date. But I will be looking at the weather. And I will also have frost claws ready to go because, once it says, oh yeah, hey, from now on, it's going to be 50 degrees outside at nighttime, we will get a freak frost and it will ruin your crops if you don't cover them. So we will be ready to go with crop covers. Okay guys, I'm just gonna cut in right now because as I was editing, I realized I forgot an entire box of seeds that you could be starting in March, and I've already started a lot of these, and I think it's why I forgot. So I'm gonna let you know so here we go. Cabbage. I have a couple of different varieties of cabbage that I've been starting, and I started hardening them off today so they can go in. But if you haven't already started them, March is the time to do that. All of these are going to be your greens, basically. I have this new one I have never tried, and I'm actually going to do this. It's Komatsuna, I believe, and that was a free seed from Baker Creek. And a lot of my other lettuces. I love the Butter Crunch, the Lola Rosa. And this was another free Baker Creek seed from last year that I did not try, and I'm going to try it this year, the Merlot. And then your romaines. I got a super red romaine. And to add to the spinach list, this one I really love. And this is actually the one that is growing still from last year and made it through the winter. This spinach here, the Verdil spinach. So that one held over in the bed with some mulch over top of it all throughout winter. And then the pak choy and bok choy. And these are going to be started. These are all going to be started outside now. I have some that we had started from all of our greens inside and winter sown. And then the rest of these are actually going to get sown right into the ground this weekend. All right, now back to everything else I had recorded yesterday. Now, I'm also going to start, and I am going to start some of these inside and some of them outside as insurance. But we've got some squash, some of our winter squash. Now, these are called winter squash because they will hold over in storage throughout the winter, versus they have a thicker rind around them, versus the summer squashes like our crooknecks and zucchinis, which I have those somewhere. they don't have a thick, they have a thin outer layer. Now they will still last a long time, but not through the winter for months, they won't. So for our winter squash, I only have 2 that I'm gonna be doing. We aren't big winter squash eaters, and I don't have enough space to grow a bunch of pumpkin varieties for decoration. So the 2 winter squash we're doing are the Burgess, I think I'm saying Burgess or Burgess, butternut squash. I've heard raving reviews about that, and the delicata. Now I do know that as far as winter squashes go, these aren't the longest storing winter squashes, but flavor wise and texture wise, I've been told these are, you can't pass them up, and I'm all about the flavor. So we're gonna do those 2, and then we're also gonna start inside and some outside the the summer squash, our zucchinis and our crooknecks. But the indoor squash starting is going to be at the end of March. They grow so fast. Literally, you put the seeds in your soil, and within days they popped up, and in a week they've got their first set of true leaves. They're super fast growing, and unless you have a really good infrastructure inside for growing larger plants indoors, then don't start them too early. So end of March, which would give me roughly 4 weeks before they would go outside. I'm also going to be starting inside my basil. So I have the Italian Genovese basil. I picked up this sweet basil from the Dollar Tree. I want to try that. And then I have the cinnamon basil. Now the cinnamon basil isn't just for eating. This is I want for decoration purposes in my floral arrangements. Now, as for our flowers, all of these ones are going to be started inside. I do have some that are actually going to be started outside. But we actually started winter sowing a lot of those. I want to try putting them in the ground and see how some of our outside ones would do. Okay, as for the flowers that we're going to be starting in the house, we're going to do some cosmos. I'm only going to do a couple. I want to actually see the difference between growing them outside, which I had done last year, and starting some inside, and just to see if I can get them to bloom a little sooner. We're actually also going to be starting marigolds. Now, marigolds are going to go in the flower garden areas and in the vegetable gardens. Marigolds, because of their smell, will deter some pests, and their roots will help to fight against the root knot nematode. So we'll definitely be putting them in our tomato beds. A marigold that I'm honestly just growing because I think it's beautiful. I had gotten some from the farmer's market last year for some cut flower arrangements I did, and I love them. The Kilimanjaro white. This is a really pretty marigold. I'm not a big marigold fan when it comes to like cut flowers, but I do love the Kilimanjaro white. I have never grown grasses for cut flower arrangements, but I'm going to this year, and I'm going to do the frosted explosion grass. I think that'll be really neat. I don't know if you guys have ever grown that. Let me know in the comments your experience with it, what you thought about it. I'm curious. Okay, some more flowers that we're going to be starting in the house are the straw flowers. We're going to be using this for cut flower arrangements and for dried flower arrangements. Same with the globe amaranth, cut flower for fresh and for dried. The status, same thing, cut and dried. Calendula. I mean, look at this color, pink surprise. It's like sherbet. I mean, oh, I'm like really excited for that one. And the Nicotiana, we're gonna grow that. Now, that's not like a cut flower thing. That is just to have a really tall backdrop. We actually have quite a few tall flowers are gonna be growing, but I think these will be really cool and they're gonna smell great. And I really like a lot of good smells in the garden. The celosia pompous plumes, and that'll be for cut flower arrangements. I really enjoy that. Now this is one flower I told myself I wasn't gonna grow, and then actually my mother-in-law, thank you Sue, made me want to grow it again this year. This is the hollyhock, margaret, I'm not sure. The double champagne. It's a shorter hollyhock, and but hollyhocks around here get rust really bad, and even before it was like done blooming all the way up, it already had rust. But it's so darn beautiful. If it wasn't for that rust, oh, I'm gonna try to put it somewhere else in hopes that I don't have that problem. We're gonna see. And I'm on the fence if I'm gonna do the coleus again. I think I'm going to only, I mean, they are pretty. They don't necessarily go with a lot of the themed area of my garden space, but the bees love them. The pollinators love them. They send up these tall, like a flower stalk, a lot like the, I don't know, it kind of reminds me like how the hosta sends up the stalks in the middle. And like I said, the pollinators go crazy for them. So for them, I'm gonna do the coleus, and I mean, it does look pretty. It doesn't necessarily, you know, this was a mix, so there's, you know, it's kind of hit and miss on which colors you're gonna get. And I guess when they come up in the seed starting tray, I can see the color right away to tell which one it's gonna be, and I can pick out the ones I really want and get rid of the other ones. I'm also going to do some larkspur. Now I know some of these flowers don't like their roots to get messed with for transplanting. So I did do some winter sowing of this. Now this and the others I'm going to sow outside. So I hope that they go well outside. We'll see. The bachelor's button. The love and a mist, which I actually have some of this and another one, I can't remember which one, that I had sown in the fall. And they've stuck it through all winter long, and they're already starting to grow again for this year in Stan's garden. My Stanley plum has its own little garden area, and I put some cool flowers in there to test out sowing them in the fall, and they've been doing really great. The Ami. Now these are all going to be beautiful for cut flowers. They're going to be great for the pollinators. Something specifically just for cut flowers I've never tried is Bells of Ireland. So we have some of that in the winter sowing jugs, and we're gonna put some in the ground. You know, testing things out, the best way to grow things in our area. This is other than last year, this is our second year of growing in this area on this property, and unless you test things out, you really don't know what the best way to grow them in your yard is. So trying out a bunch of different options is going to guarantee success for us. All right, guys, I have a ton of seeds to sow, a ton of yard work to do. So I'm going to end this video right here. Thank you for watching Garden and Grease, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Oh, and share this with anybody who might need to hear this information. All right, thank you guys. Have a good day. Watermelon flavored worms. Whoa, that's a treat.